There we go. Okay. Good morning. Welcome everybody to the Arts at Large workshop. My name is Blanche Brown, or you can call me BB. I'm a professional artist and therapist, including an art therapist. And I often use art a lot in my work with people for just all kinds of ways as an alternative to talk therapy sometimes. Art does a lot more than words can say. So I love art because I'm an artist. And today we're going to work on a project and we're going to create an art intention doll. And I think that everyone who is participating may have come by to get the materials that will be used for this project. And inside you will find that there'll be fabric, the actual sticks that we'll use, craft sticks that we'll use for our structure of our doll. There's batting that we'll use to create the head and some body parts of our doll, and string, glue, as well as some buttons and beads you can use for accessories. What is an intention? What is an intention? When you think about an intention, you talk about things that you're thinking about, but an intention is more than a thought. It's more than a thought. It's more like you're gonna do something. So this intention project is designed to use your creativity as well as thinking about things that you want to do and maybe have an intention to do, and this doll will be a little reminder of that. So we'll get started. First, we're going to use our popsicle sticks or craft sticks, and I'm going to give you an opportunity to choose a couple of ways. I'm going to show one way, but you can choose another way to do this if you'd like, okay? The easiest way is just to glue your sticks together like a cross, and this will be the one leg and the two arms, and this will be the part for the head. However, there's another way that might be a little bit different. It'll take a little bit of doing, but I think we can do it. Also, I want to point out that this project is for all ages, all groups, it doesn't matter. Smaller hands may need a little bit more help with some of the materials and with the scissors. So, let's take the 3 sticks and create like an X there. So, these are going to be the legs and our arms. Then we're going to take the 3rd stick and have it come up a little bit more this way so that we have a head. Can everybody see that? So right now, go ahead and take your glue and glue all the pieces together. Also, in your bag, you did receive a little bit of string, and I'm going to ask that you would use the string to just kind of solidify that. We want to glue our pieces together, and then the next thing that we're going to do is to write our intention out. So let's just glue the structure of our doll first and let that sit for a little bit. The main thing about this project is that you use your imagination. You use your imagination. It can be anything that you want it to be in terms of how it looks. So let's just set that there for a little bit, just to let the glue dry. It shouldn't take too long. When you think about an intention, it's an aim or a goal to do something, but a little bit more than just a thought. When I intend to do something I have in my mind, I'm going to go past that thought and actually do. So today's intention can be anything that you have in your mind to do. It can be an intention that I'm going to make sure that I speak to everyone I see, an intention to smile, an intention to be at peace with who I am, an intention to go out and make sure I take a walk every day. It can be an intention to do anything. And the intention is, and the intent of it is, that this is something that you will have in your mind to do that's going to be helpful, that's going to be purposeful, that's going to be something that will be beneficial to you in your life. So right now, you're going to take time and write an intention. It can just be a sentence, a phrase, a word. It doesn't matter. Because what we're going to do is we're going to write our intention and fold it up, and we're going to tuck it into our doll once we get it made. It also helps if you put your name. So for me, I would say BB intends to, and then fill in the blank. It makes it more personal that way. Once you have your intention written, you can fold it up. And we'll put it to the side, because once we get a part of our doll created, we'll tuck it in, okay? So let's see how we are with our structure. Looks pretty good, all right? Looks pretty good. If you're just a little bit tentative about or not sure that it's going to stick, you can take some of the string in your art supplies and just kind of wrap it around if you'd like. And I think I might do that because mine is a little bit still not as secure. Believe me, the glue will dry a little bit better over time. But this is pretty good, because then I can still adjust it if I need to. Pretty soon it's going to dry though, and it won't be able to move anymore. And also, if you find that it's still not sticking, just add a little bit more glue. There you go. All right, the next thing we want to do is to use some of the materials, and you can use anything. I think they were very generous in the amount of fabric that they gave, and I would say that if you want to use 2 pieces, you can, and you can cut these down to what you'd like to do. I brought a couple pieces pre-cut to what I was going to use for the doll and how I was going to create it, but you can certainly cut your fabric to the size that you want. Again, this is your doll. You may use more fabric, you may use less fabric. This is going to be your creation. So I have a couple pieces of fabric here that I'm going to use. And I think that I am going to use probably 2 pieces of my fabric. So maybe one of the easiest ways is to decide how you're going to do. If you are going to have a bottom part, you will need to cut enough that's going to wrap around. So for instance, if I use 2 pieces and I'm going to use the bottom part, I can flip it over, gather together here. And this is where you may need to use a little bit more string. I know the glue will hold, but it just may take a little bit longer. And there I just put a big glob of glue. And by the way, it's okay if parts of your popsicle stick show. that doesn't really matter. Once again, I'm just going to use a little bit of string. Notice I can still kind of adjust my arms a little bit. There. Okay. Now, I'd like you to take your intention that you've written and folded, and you're going to tuck it right in. And that's going to be covered up because we're going to put more fabric over it. But just tuck it in, and even if you want to make sure it stays, you can glue it down as well. Now for my top piece. For this part, I'm going to cut a little bit of hole in the top so that it can go over the part that's going to be the head and where my fluff is going to go, because I want to put this on first. So depending on what you're using for your fabric and how much you want to use, if this is too much, you can cut it in half. If you cut it in half, make sure that you have it to where you can cut a hole at the top. So I'm just going to use this piece that I have here and just cut a small hole, very small hole in the top, like this. Slide it through. And now I have this, I want to make a little bit of an adjustment. So with your hole already here in place, you can use scissors to cut a small hole to where your one arm is, very small. And the reason I'm doing this when it's on is so that you can adjust it. I have a hole there, and then I'm going to put a hole on the other side. Again, just a small hole. All right, and then slide them down. So there you go. And now you have a head, and let me just get this little guy over there. Great. That'll look something like that. Okay. Now, I know that I'm probably not going to use all of this, but for now, I'm just going to keep it because I'm going to take a little bit of my fluff or batting to give my doll some body. Okay. So take a little bit of the fluff, however much you want to use, and you're just going to insert it underneath. The front of the doll. And this is where your creativity comes in deciding what you'd like to do. So I'm going to glue the sides and then cut probably a little bit more off the bottom. So once you have your batting in place, you can just fold the fabric over and make sure your intention piece is still in there, and then just use glue to glue the sides of the fabric. When you think about intention, what are some ways that we can live with intention? One of the ways that we can do that is to be mindful. Be mindful, pay attention to our surroundings. Sometimes we get so busy doing a lot of different things that we don't realize our surroundings can tell us a lot, and we can learn to live with intention by paying attention to our surroundings, being mindful of what's going on around you. That can mean the environment, that can mean people, that can even mean how you eat your food, being mindful of what you're doing. Okay. I'm just using a little bit of glue here to make sure that it's all in place. Okay. So now I have a lot of extra, and depending on what you like to do, I'm going to fold this up this way and in the back as well. And feel free to use any other pieces of your fabric, maybe another piece or another design that doesn't even match, something else to use to now gather together the sides like this. That intention is really tucked in there well now. All right. So once you have kind of gathered things together, and again, you may have decided to just cut some of yours off, and that's fine too. I'm going to use some ribbon just to make a little bit of a belt to wrap around and make a little decoration with mine. Okay. There we go. All right. Hope you guys are doing good so far. Again, I hope you're making it your own. This is the whole idea. The materials are here, but you're making it your own in the way you design it. All right. The next thing we want to do is to add a head to our doll. So take more of the fluff, and this time you're going to make it so that the fluff covers both the front and the back of our head and neck area. And you may have a little bit of stick showing, which is fine. So just go ahead and glue the fluff to the top of the stick so that it resembles a head. And you're going to kind of form that and keep that in place. When I think about how I can live with intention, I also think about surrounding myself with people who are supportive and that who care about me and who look out for my best interests. Being around positive people helps you to live with intention. My doll is slowly coming together. A little bit more glue. The way you create your doll also has a lot to do with your personality. You may be a person that's really colorful and like to use a lot of color in your work, or maybe a little bit more plain. However you create your doll just kind of can speak to your personality as well. So. All right. So the next thing we want to do as we kind of wrap up and get some accessories going is to add some buttons or beads to create a face. Once again, you have a lot to choose from. You decide what you'd like to use for your doll. Once you have the eyes glued on, just let it sit there for a little bit so they can dry. In the meantime, why not put some additional things on to solidify our head on our doll? So I think, once again, in your bag, you have string. Use some of the string that you have. I am also going to do the same. Just to kind of wrap it around the neck of my doll to make sure the fluff stays in place. Oops. There we go. Okay. I had to re-glue my buttons on. Wants to roll off. I'm going to sit it down here for a little bit so that it can stay. Another way I can think about living with intention has to do with self-care. How often do we take time out of our busy schedules just to do something for ourselves? That could be simply going to get my nails done, or going for a walk, having a special treat, treating myself, ordering something that I really like. Just every now and then, self-care. It is really, really important, and especially during this time that we're in, that's very challenging, to take time for self-care as you think about being a person of intention. Okay. All right, so far, our doll is kind of coming together here. We have the head, we have a little necktie to cover up the bottom of the fluff and give it a little bit more decoration. We have our doll dressed and almost ready. So at this point, use your imagination. You can glue extra buttons on if you'd like. Okay. And if you want to make a complete face, then get a nose, get a button and use, or bead and use for a nose. And sometimes I like to use different materials for different parts. So this time I'm going to use a little bit of snippet of ribbon that I brought with me to just make a little mouth that'll be just a little bit different. Again, you may have to add a little pressure with your fingers just to make sure things stick for a little bit on that fluff, because after all, it is fluff. Last but not least, and this again is your choice, to use some fabric and maybe do a head wrap of some, if you'd like to. Again, it's your choice, and I'm just going to, because I like head wraps, I'm going to put a head wrap on my doll. So if you'd like to do that, just take a little bit of cloth, and you can either tie it on, maybe not necessarily need to glue it on, but you can just tie it on. And I'm gonna see if that'll work for me, or I may need to, depending, because my doll's head is not as big, but I may be able to make it. If you're doing this at home with someone, and you have someone that's working and their little hands involved, you may need to offer a little bit of assistance to some parts that we show today. Okay. Now, as we think about our doll, once again, it is your creation, it is your doll. You can name your doll if you'd like to. When I'm using this as a part of a project with people that I do art therapy with, I ask them to name their doll or not. And the finished doll is your creation and special to you. I just want to show you a couple examples of some that I've done, and I've done with other clients and created. When we talk about some of the materials you can use, I really like using found objects a lot, and this one was made with a stick that I just got out of my yard, and I just wrapped yarn around it, and so it's just really a stick that I found, and I like the fact that it's kind of got a curve in it. I use spray paint to get the color in this face for that one. This is one I also created and used the sticks, and I used bigger sticks, but I used them in such a way so that I can have this one have pants. And whatever your intention is that you've created for yourself, remember that it's tucked away in your doll. No one has to know about it except you, or you can share that with someone as well. I hope you enjoy the project today. Use your imagination. You can create more than one intention doll. You can create an intention doll for many intentions that you have. And again, just a reminder of something that you plan to do, intend to do. Thank you very much. For those who are interested, you can find me at BBSARTY on Instagram, BBSARTY, or at my website, artbybb.com. Thank you.